As widely expected, Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to win the presidential election after 3 days of voting up to Sunday. This will give him another 6 years in power until at least 2030. For more details on how this will affect the global landscape, we're joined by Professor Joel Atkinson. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning. It's my pleasure.
Good morning. The election came as the Kremlin looked for a high turnout. Russia says the figure already surpassed 67.5%, the number recorded in 2018. So how is this year's election different from previous ones, and what's your take on the voter turnout?
Yes, Moscow worked hard to achieve a high turnout. There was quite a bit of manipulation, and even some coercion appears to have been involved. At the same time, Putin appears to be broadly popular. At more than 73%, the reported turnout is higher than in 2018, so that sends a signal that his regime is stable and in control. I think the biggest difference, obvious difference this time, is the war Putin started with Ukraine. Putin worked hard to project a sense of normalcy, but there were nevertheless some disruptions from Ukrainian bombardments and drone attacks during the three-day election. The other big change is that major opposition figure, Navalny, died in an Arctic penal colony this February. He was poisoned with a nerve toxin in 2020. Any serious challenges have been suppressed and kept off the ballot, and 3 token rivals from Kremlin-friendly parties were allowed to run against Putin.
Right. And Russian voters were seen protesting against Putin's re-election. So what impact will the election results have on Russia's domestic situation?
Yes, there were protests. There was some green liquid poured into ballot boxes, etc. And that was apparently in homage to Navalny, who was attacked by an assailant who splashed green disinfectant on his face in 2017. There was also a Noon Against Putin action with people urged to vote at 12 noon, writing in a protest vote. Some thousands of Russians may have participated. Still, Putin has tightened his grip on power. He's currently 71 years old. He's been in power now for more than 20 years. And this new term he just gave himself, after that, he would have been in power longer than Stalin, longer than any Russian leader since Catherine the Great in the 18th century. But yeah, who knows what the future holds? The war is placing considerable strain on society and the economy, so we'll see what happens.
Right, and it's been more than 2 years since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and Ukrainian drones targeted Russia on the final day of voting. How will another 6 years of Putin affect the Ukraine war?
Yes, so the war is now in its 3rd year. Putin seems confident that it is turning in his favor. US support to Ukraine is being cut back due to partisan squabbling ahead of the November elections. We could see Donald Trump re-elected and also support to Ukraine halted. The Russians have a growing advantage in firepower and are slowly advancing. The Ukrainians are on the defensive. But I think Europe is belatedly moving with more urgency to supply weaponry. Ukraine is striking deeper into Russia with drones. So while Putin certainly has reasons to be optimistic, I think there's a long way to go yet.
Absolutely. As for ties with South Korea, the bilateral relations have been strained for a while now. So how will 6 more years of Putin affect the two countries' relations?
Yeah, so relations are the worst they've been since the end of the Cold War, really. The latest development is that a South Korean man associated with a Seoul-based Protestant charity was arrested for espionage in Vladivostok. It'll be very difficult for things to get much better while Putin remains in power or his Ukraine war continues. Putin is unhappy with the Yoon Suk-yeol administration for participating in sanctions and for indirectly supplying Ukraine with artillery, ammunition, and so on. So Seoul's not going to stop. Not only would it alienate partners, particularly the US, but it is also not in South Korea's interest to see Putin's aggression in Ukraine succeed. But of course, if Donald Trump returns to the White House, then the whole dynamic could change quite dramatically.
Recently, Russia has been building close relations with North Korea. How will the election results affect its relations with North Korea?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, while Russia's relations with South Korea have never been worse, thanks to the Ukraine invasion, relations with North Korea have never been better, really. Putin needs weaponry from North Korea. In return, he's providing advanced technology and other goods, as well as support in the UN Security Council, etc. So Moscow also appears to be cracking down on North Korean escapees in Russia's Far East. Putin gave Kim Jong-un a luxury car, tourism has begun, and ties will presumably continue to deepen while Putin remains in power. If North Korea engages in escalating provocations this year, as many expect that that the regime will, possibly even violent actions that result in the deaths of South Koreans, then that's really going to make relations with South Korea even worse.
All right, Professor Atkinson, thank you so much for your insight this morning.
Yeah, thank you.